Good evening, I'm Matterall. Today on Talking in Stations, it's patch day in EVE Online. Howling Interdictors are here, and they've arrived on TQ, Tranquility Server. We will remind you who the big winners are, and also some other effects that have come with this update. Then we'll talk about the Triglavian situation and how it's improving. Poshfen, the new region taken by Triglavians, was off to a rough start. We'll talk to Fonsui about how that situation is improving. And finally in the news, an Imperium Titan was destroyed in Delve belonging to the TNT Alliance. The war target was downed by Ford Vanguard. It was a dread bomb. That group belongs to the Pappy forces, which continue to put pressure in ongoing hostilities in the Delve region. Talk about all that, some economic news and weather too. All on Talking in the Stations today, the EVE Online report. Let's get started. How's it going, Mannix?
Hey, it's going great. Today we're joined by Gagorin.
Hello.
And Fonsway.
Evening.
Welcome. All right, start with corrections. What do you got?
Oh, yeah. Well, yesterday I said that test actually have the Sotios under upvote control. Seems, I was called out on YouTube about this. A recent change I verified with Sapporo Jones is that they now allow corps to own Sotios in test. And now he also went to say, like I said, this was a recent change and that most people still use the upvote Sotios that are in the capital system of test. The keep stars are verified with PGL that are they're all still owned by upvote. The corp possibly could own one, but once it's dropped, it'll have to be transferred to upvote. So minor correction there. Go ahead.
Recent policy changed.
Yeah, this was a recent policy change coming from Sapporo Jones. So
what does recent mean in this case?
He did not verify how long this has been changed, but this was not the policy when I was in test about a year ago. So this was in the past year.
Okay. So thanks for that correction. Just to clear up the record from yesterday's report where somebody objected to the way it was characterized, correct?
And definitely. It was no one. So thanks for letting us know. And anytime I'm wrong, definitely feel free to let me know. I've got a pretty thick skin, so
yeah, but
accuracy in reporting.
Yeah, but be courteous and kind in your comments, because if I see comments that are blasting our staff, I'm just going to delete it and then delete you, and you won't have a voice anymore. And you don't want that. I don't want that, because I want to hear from you when you're less insistent. So just be polite when you give your feedback. We'll definitely try to correct things as we go. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but don't take it out on the staff. They volunteer their time. Thank you.
Yeah, constructive feedback is welcome, and venting is for Reddit.
Okay, let's go to the top stories. Patch notes, October 18. Sorry, this is patch notes for October, version 18.10. We have to separate those because not long ago, the dates and the version numbers kind of coincided. So people started getting confused as to what those version numbers meant. Were they dates or not? And so they're completely separate. This is version 18.10, happens to be the October 2020 patch.
So the connection there is the 10. So version 18 is version 18 of the game client. The 10 is the October update.
Terrific. Okay, Howling Interdictors are here. And it looks like the Heretic is the one that benefits the most from it, in that it's got improved armor, which puts it on a parallel usability with the Saber. Now, for a long time, Dictors, which are used to tackle ships with bubbles, the Saber has been the only ship to use, and the other three were hardly ever used. I think we made a joke, right? Mannix, where you showed up with an Eris and people said, like, bring a Dictor. And you were like, this is a Dictor.
Absolutely. It's happened more than once.
Yeah, so people don't recognize that there are more than one Dictor. There's not just the Saber. There's also the Heretic, which is the Amarian class, the Flycatcher, which is the Caldari, and the Eris, which is the Galente. So the Heretic gets a little more armor, and it makes it maybe usable in armor fleets. So you might have an option of a Saber now, which is probably shield-based, and Heretic, which is armor-based. The Flycatcher also improved for destroying small things, and the Eris improved as well, but it had the longest way to go. Not sure that'll be used much anyway. Also, in this patch, you had combat interceptors get a full 100% bonus to speed if they overheat their afterburners.
Well, it's a 100% bonus to the speed bonus of overheating. So
in
it's
general,
not.
I see.
So the overheat bonus, I can actually look that up, is a specific percentage. So that specific percentage is twice as much for the overheat.
Yeah, so it's just double the overheat boost. So if it was doing like 1,000 and you overheated and it put it up to 1,500.
Right, so the overheat bonus, on an afterburner is 50%. So the bonus of overheat becomes 100%.
Got it. They go faster if they overheat their engines when they're trying to move around. And this is very good for a Tyrannus, I'm told by our friend Suetonia, that now the double, what would they call it? Double
overheat.
No, there's a certain word for it. Propulsion. Double propulsion when you have both a micro
Dual
warp
prop.
drive. Thank you.
Yeah,
dual
prop.
prop.
Yeah.
Dual prop. The dual prop Tyrannus should be pretty good now. Not only can it do some damage, right? Because the Tyrannus has always been good at delivering some damage, but with dual prop now, it's actually much faster and much more able to zip around than it was even before. So
micro warp drives also get a 50% bonus to speed. So this language is unclear. It's either adding 100% to the 50% or doubling the 50%. I'm not sure which it is. I'm assuming that the 50 becomes 100, not the 50 becomes 150. But the language in the patch notes is not quite clear.
Well, we've seen some tests done on Test Center, but now that this is in the game, you can test your own combat interceptor and see how fast it goes. The point is, these things are going to go really fast when you overheat, which is a limited amount of time before you burn out your actual propulsion modules. So it's a choice that you can make when you're in a situation, but you won't be able to burn that fast all the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But look for the Tyrannus gaining some ground here with that change. You guys have other things you want to point out about this patch?
There's quite a bit that happened today.
Okay.
There's
let's put the Triglavian stuff aside. What else?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. So
okay, let's go
let me pull up the info that I have.
The Crimson Harvest comes up.
Yeah, outside of the patch notes themselves, I did want to mention, in case anyone hasn't been informed, the next, or at least there will be one proving event that has a change to Stasis Webifiers. Stasis Webs in Proving Grounds are going to be doubled in range.
Is that in these notes?
It's not in the notes, but it's in the code.
So this is coming from Hobo Leaks?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's say that again for emphasis, because that's an important thing for people who go into the Gladiator Ring, which is called the Proving Grounds.
Yeah, so this is in the code that was released today onto Tranquility, the live server. There was text that says, all Stasis Overfire modules within this Proving Ground receive a plus 100% bonus to maximum range. This Proving Ground event access through this filament will be accessible from October 30th to November 3rd.
Are they trying to keep people from kiting around?
You assume. Is this like a weather effect inside the Proving Ground?
It's added to the weather.
Or just added to the... Okay.
It could be invisible. They may have added it to the weather. You may see it if you mouse over the HUD badge. It's possible. I don't know how they did it, but it's the text is there, and the mechanics are less important than the fact that webs are double range. So Tech 2 webs that are 10 kilometers are going to be 20. If you don't have any buffs, there are implants and there's command bursts and stuff. There's stuff that you could do to extend web range. And then your 14 and 15 kilometer webs are going to be 20, 28 and 30 kilometers respectively.
Great. So tell us what the net effect is of this. Why'd they do it?
So this is obviously, it's clearly a surgical change. It's a specific thing. They're getting one bonus to one thing. So they're obviously targeting something specific. And I'm not going to guess at the specific type of thing they're targeting, but it's clear that they're doing this in order to balance the combat. It says, here, the format of the event. This Proving Ground event welcomes individual capsuleers flying basic Empire combat and attack frigates fit with Tech 2 or lower modules to fight to the death against 3 other individual capsuleers. So this is Tech 1 Empire frigate for free-for-all 4 ships. And they wanted webs to have double range in that setting.
To slow each other down, because those ships are fast.
Yeah.
And you kite around the arena.
You meant
yeah.
on a more basic level what they're trying to do. Yeah. Yes. So there have been a number of proving events, which are these tight controlled arenas by now. They've run, 10, 15 of them by now.
Mm-hmm.
And they have noticed that there is a lack of controllability, and which results in unbalanced gameplay, either stalemates or somebody winning entirely too quickly, or thinning out the meta, making certain hulls and builds non-viable. And
or let me just interrupt you. It seems like one of the things that would be really bad is if you come into this gladiator arena and the guy starts running away from you and you just chase him until you have a cardiac moment, like Monty Python, right, around the Roman ring. And the gladiator dies of a heart attack, and the little skinny guy survives because he outran him the whole time.
This will prevent those 2 scenarios where you have either a stalemate or somebody gets blapped instantaneously and you never had a chance. Or it's not going to prevent all of them, but it's going to cut down on those scenarios.
Until you said Empire ships, I was thinking I'd be interested to see how Serpentis ships would be used.
They get natural bonuses.
Yeah, it's very specific. They don't say the list on here, but I can tell you what the list will be. Oh wait, no, there's the list. The list is on another entry. On the other entry, they say basic Empire combat and attack frigates. So I know that's going to exclude the Explo ones and Logi ones, but they listed here. It says Punisher, Tormentor, Merlin, Kestrel, Incursus, Tristan, Rifter, Breacher, Executioner, Condor, Atron, and Slasher. And I'll put that in Twitch chat.
Thanks. Now, does any of those have a bonus to the web on the ship itself?
Yeah, so that's in Twitch chat. I don't believe those ships have a web bonus. I don't think any of them do. Okay. But I can double check. I'm pretty sure that's like a pirate bonus.
That's why I was thinking Serpentis until you said Empire.
Right.
Because Serpentis have the bonus that doubles the web strength.
This code is live on Tranquility right now.
Okay.
And this is going to be released right during the Crimson Harvest event.
So not only so October 30th to November 3rd, it is called the Crimson Harvest. It is specifically called the Crimson Harvest Proving Ground event, and there's another string that was added in called Unique Spooky Abyssal Environment. Bullet point for new feature Crimson Harvest Proving Ground event.
Awesome.
So they built us a new arena for this.
Oh, that's excellent. I can't wait.
Awesome. What else is in this patch?
Ah, boy, so much stuff. Let me reset this overleaks and see what else is in here that isn't in the patch notes. Because we saw patch notes. So that thing what I just mentioned is not in the patch notes. The patch notes are actually kind of thin.
Yeah, the patch notes are kind of skimpy compared to the stuff you're finding. I suppose.
There's also, they added in a ton of skins. There's the for the arena, they added in a bunch of new Abyssal Glory skins. Prophecy Courser, Ferox Corm, Brutix Catalyst, Cyclone Thrasher. That's it. Yeah, so that's a bunch that they added Abyssal Glory. They have some Sarum skins are coming back, or these are new ones, I'm not sure. There's a whole list of those. There's a bunch of Blood Raider skins that were added. But there are new Halloween skins. There's 4 new Deathglow skins. These are called Deathglow Remnant, and those are pretty cool as well. You can pull those up in game. They're not published to the market, but if you pull up the ships that they're for, then you can pull up the skins. So Raven, Typhoon, Slasher, and Bantam have the new Halloween skin. So if you pull up a Raven in game and you pull up its skins list, you'll see the new skin. Same for Typhoon, Slasher, and Bantam. the Deathglow Remnant. So that was added in today as well.
Yeah, I'm in the archive for the Crimson Harvest artwork. I don't see any artwork for Crimson Harvest.
So outside of that, that's all I can find that was specifically that was changed that wasn't in the patch notes, other than like just details. Like there's a whole ton of stuff that was added in for the Crimson Harvest event itself. It's just like a lot of stuff.
All right, cool.
They said that's being added.
Yeah, so skins, Crimson Harvest, some changes to the Proving Grounds, and then you have the Howling Interdictors. That's all what's arrived now. In the future, we'll see more changes in November. That's when we'll see the filaments that make you respawn into your super carrier friend in your fleet and all that kind of stuff. That's all in the future.
Yeah, that code is currently on Singularity. So you can go to HoboLeaks and you can log on Singularity and you can check out those changes before they happen. And then you can be like me and not read patch notes and like just wonder why the patch notes haven't caught up yet.
You got over prepared. Let's move on though to something that's very interesting. It's the Triglavian updates. Talk to us about when the Triglavian, let's call it content launched, when Poshfen arrived, what some of the problems were and how those are being fixed today.
Well, there's two specific things that were worked on today for that are going to make a big, actually three things that are going to make a big difference for Pochven. So one, and this is via Baleful Dysnomia, because this isn't in any notes. This is invisible to the game client, invisible to HoboLeaks, and unless they tell us this happened, then we wouldn't know. So she informed us that the wormholes that gain you access to the specific systems geographically spawn close to them, even though they're cut off. They actually spawn close to the system where they lead to, and they're actually working now as opposed to not working before.
It's a big change right there, right?
You mean the fact that it's on as opposed to off? Yes.
Well, the fact that they're also close in proximity to the system you're trying to get into, which is kind of neat.
Right. So I think that's how it always was. They were just off and now they're on. And she has now said, now that they're on, we're able to see they spawn close to, like if you want to get into Niarja, then hang out near, like look for wormholes near Niarja.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of like gopher holes, right? Like,
yeah,
it makes sense.
It makes sense. So that's not in the notes. That is via our highly attentive grapevine.
Well, you're part of that too.
Right. So
Talking in Stations looks behind the veil.
Yeah. So that's one of the three things that was changed. The major changes, obviously. So in the patch notes, they have like what, 7 bullet points regarding this.
Yeah.
But the three major issues were the major issue was access. So they have addressed it in three ways. One is the wormholes. Two is they've increased the drop availability and variety of Triglavian space filaments, and that's in the notes. That's just a straight bullet point. So that's really good. So these filaments are going to be more accessible. We're going to be able to get in and out a lot more easily. The filaments won't be quite so expensive. The third thing, and this is the huge one, and that's the very first bullet point, significantly increase the standings values gained from killing NPCs related to Triglavian space. And if you pull up HoboLeaks, you can see the changes. Mm-hmm. It's like a factor of 10. On average. It's a huge change. Things should literally go 10 times as fast. So if you were worried about grinding standings, don't worry so much. That should be okay. The other minor bullet points that they have here is corrected standings incorrectly gained from rogue drone content, reworked Triglavian site distribution rules. It is now possible to warp to 0 in Triglavian wormhole sites and increase the time between NPC spawns around Triglavian wormholes. Again, more accessibility stuff here. Yeah. Either defects that are fixed or balance, changes that were made by request.
Some players are not real happy about this because they corrected standings incorrectly gained by rogue drone content. Remember we talked about that. You could kind of cycle through standings for both Triglavians and Edencom, allowing you to get into this Poshman.
Well, that's separate from this.
Oh no, but
So
right, and
the
they
rogue
fixed
drone
that.
stuff was when they were cheesing it.
Right, and they fixed that. They called it an exploit, then they fixed it, but you could still get, or whoever had gotten standings from that, I believe had it, still kept it because they got in before they called it an exploit. But
Right. So what they changed were the gains and losses on the NPCs. So people who had already set their standings appropriately were unaffected.
So what I'm trying to find out, are Edencom pilots now taking a hit by getting their standings pooled that they earned earlier? Is anybody taking a loss?
What? I don't think. Oh, you mean the corrected standings incorrectly gained from rogue drone content?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, rogue drone content unrelated to Triglavian space. So what that is the players that were cheesing, that were hitting the rogue drones that aren't the old rogue drones that aren't supposed to be tied. That was declared an exploit, and now they're just not doing it. So the other thing was not declared an exploit. The neutral to both thing was never declared an exploit. It was just that, okay, we're just changing it. This was declared an exploit.
All right. Well, anyway, some pilots got some standings taken away, but they didn't get it the right way. So that's been fixed. Some people are not happy, but one of those things. At least standings now are changed to a factor of 10. So I think it was 0.24 standings before, and now it's 2.4. I think I've heard that number somewhere.
Well, the standings gains from killing the NPCs is what was changed.
Right.
So no one had any standings changed or anything. No requirements have changed. You just gain them a lot faster.
Yes, and that, because that is now fixed in the game, you can get your standings properly. So they fixed and took away the old standing gains that were made, and now they fixed how you get standings. And this is all improvements towards people wanting to get Triglavian standings.
Right. They didn't just take away our cheese. They made the right way 10 times more palatable.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. I think that's an improvement. And again, Poshman is ambitious. They took an entire region and created it out of systems that already existed from different regions. And of course, there's going to be some hiccups in the first few weeks. There always has been hiccups after a big, ambitious push of content from CCP. So now it's getting worked out, which is kind of nice, right? Hopefully that'll become accessible.
So obviously the corporate directive for this content. So corporate is very, very, very focused on this content. Like Hilmar and the people that sit right next to him are paying very close attention.
I think he has a standing desk, but I get your point.
Well, yeah. I don't know. They sit right next to him at official functions, whatever. So they are watching very closely. And I know that Sledgehammer and Coyote, who are the designers on this, are very engaged. And not just because they have to be, but because they want to be. They have their heart and soul in this. Like, you should see these guys talk about this content and their work, and how amazing it is that they're able to work on this, and the players being engaged. Like, they want this to be good and fun and rewarding as much as anybody else does. So they are paying very close attention. And the fact that, like, how this has developed, the changes that were made throughout chapter 1, 2, and 3, the whole way through, they directly reflect the feedback of the players that were engaged.
Okay, good. So there will be constant improvements to this gameplay. I want to say that it has had some problems as it's launched. They are fixing these problems, and I think they have an expectation that this will interest a lot of players in getting involved with Poshman. So far, all we've kind of heard is how it's kind of broken here, broken there, not working here, not working there, not accessible. Even the people inside of it are now, just barely now, weeks later, consolidating their power to kind of rule over the area. So things are just settling out. Definitely check in on Poshman from time to time in the next few months. Thanks, Fonsui. Is there anything else? This is interesting, and I don't know if it's a big deal anymore because I'll just read it and then I'll tell you. NPC bounty values for Cosmos NPCs has been removed. So no bounties on Cosmos NPCs. It just seems like Cosmos died a long time ago. They were a type of mission that you could do a long time ago that helped you with standings. And I guess they still help you with standings, don't they?
Not sure, but I did verify the overload thing. It is in fact doubled, like added 100%, not like just added 100% raw. It's not 150, it's 100. So
Okay.
normal is a 50% bonus, and these ships now, that bonus is doubled.
I see. So the combat interceptor will always go 50% faster, but 100% faster if it overheats.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing changed is the overheat bonus. So they overheat harder than everything else.
Yeah, which makes sense. Okay. What do you think of Cosmos NPCs, their bounties being removed? Small deal? Big deal? Anyone?
I don't think a huge people were
Well, back
using that, but
back off the mic. Back off the mic. Back off the mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But just go ahead.
I know that a few people were using that to get a lot of low effort ISK, but I don't think it was a thing that a huge amount of people were using, since, as I understand it, the Cosmos anomalies respawn infinitely, so you could just sit in there and keep AFK farming forever.
Yeah, this was very this is very old content. It is unmaintained content, and unmaintained content that has some form of simple reward like bounties is prone for exploitation, or just not necessarily exploitation in a game exploit sense, but just over usage, improper usage sense. And they're just plugging that hole, obviously, because people were just kind of sitting on it.
Seeker Gorn, you scared Malcor's dogs.
Sorry.
That's all right.
That's fine. So this might affect a small group of people that were using this to make ISK, but it looks like most people were doing this for rep, and then some were using it for ISK, and I'm sure they will be affected, but it seems like that's going to be a small group of people.
Again, my knowledge is pretty archaic when it comes to.
Oh yeah, mine too. This is really
stuff.
old.
Cosmos used to be used to repair standings. Like if you were someone that would get shot on sight in high sec, you would use Cosmos missions to kind of repair your standing. But then they made it so that you could just buy your way back to good standings, or at least decent.
There is a limit to that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Won't get caught up on that. There's a question here. Question for low sec and null sec miners. Anyone notice belts not replenishing after reset? Thank you for a good show and fly safe. Oh, thank you. We talked about that Friday, or no, actually it was Sunday. Check out the Sunday show. We talked about ice belts not replenishing. Have you guys heard anything about normal belts?
Unfortunately, I haven't really been doing a lot of mining, so I would not notice any change in that myself.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on with belts, especially ice belts. I don't know about the other belts. They are not replenishing very well. I believe they're something like 50%.
Yeah, but that was on purpose, right? That was in the patch notes that was going to happen.
They didn't give us the amount that they were going to reduce, but now we know a lot.
Yeah,
50%.
They put it in the patch notes, though, so that was an expected change.
Yeah, that's
as far as
all belts, by the way. It's not just low sec, null sec. It's in high sec as well. So all ice belts are spawning less. We don't know exactly, but we assume it's like 50 just by the ratio of people not seeing things spawn back. Listen to the Sunday show. Actually, it's about to be published today, but you can see it on YouTube already. So listen to that, and we cover ice belts there. Yes, there's less ice. For sure.
Yeah. We have ISD in chat saying normal asteroid belts should be fine. So
yeah, just ice belts that have changed.
Yeah.
Did you guys cover the announcement of the overall champions of the Proving Grounds event?
We did
No,
not.
do we have
I did not.
champions?
Yeah. Convict posted it. I'll put it in chat. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
There it
Congrats
is.
to all these winners.
So I won't tease it. Number one was Cable. Everybody knew it was going to be.
Imagine that.
2, 3, 4, and 5 are Umil, TikTok, Sutonia, and Gorski Car. And then they list those
Sutonia
6 through
made it.
10 on there as well. Aureus Porcalius came in 10.
Okay, cool. Well, it's funny because this is instanced gameplay, they call it, right? Now it's an arena where you jump into it. You don't know who you're going to fight, but you end up fighting somebody else that jumped in somewhere else in New Eden. And it's a gladiator ring, and you duke it out. And over time, you get on these basically kill board list. And so total victories for Cable, 1,678. Now, he is somebody who has declared he doesn't like this content, and he's trying to break it. So he's kind of creating situations where he can benefit from it. And that means like arranging fights. That means, a lot of underhanded stuff that you would consider not in the spirit of gameplay. But he does it as a way of showing CCP that it's kind of rigged or can be rigged or that sort of stuff.
Well, in the end, it's all very Eve, because like there are people who engaged in this because it was fun and they know what their win-loss was. And at the top end, like, yeah, so he took a system and he gamed it. Like that's very sandbox. Enjoy.
Well, but that's, yes. But it also breaks the spirit of things. And does that have a price? Like, I don't mind when people are inventive and do things. I do mind when I see...
Yeah, I'm saying his screwing around didn't mess up anybody else's fun. That's what I think.
Well, I wonder how many people are demotivated to participate because a leaderboard means nothing.
Well,
There are consequences to wrecking things for other people.
I see what you're saying. It's definitely a valid point, and I officially don't love that. Like someone who says this system is broken, I'm going to show you all how broken it is. Look, I'm going to be the best broken.
I don't ever like that. I don't think it's legitimate.
That's not my style at all, and I get that. But like, if I'm trying to be completely objective, then like that's Eve.
Well, it's something that, and we're off track a little bit, but let's indulge. Something that I talked to Wind Spirits about, and I brought this up a few times, and he's the founder of Fraternity. He's this Chinese player. He's a very good gamer in other games, but also played EVE Online for a while. And he said, well, if I could talk about Chinese players, they're like Olympic athletes. They're super conditioned, super disciplined, and incredibly skilled. But comparing that to a Western player, that means Europe or the United States, Canada, wherever, Western players are more warriors, where they're going to fight you. And if they drop their axe, they're going to pick up a rock and hit you over the head. They're going to throw sand in your eyes. That's how they're going to play. That's how they're going to win. And so he was comparing that the Chinese come ready to play a certain way, and they're really good at it. They're finely tuned. Whereas the Western players will just play. They'll do anything they can to win, even outside the boundaries of ethics. And that's what he said one of the major differences was. And I think it's really interesting. I'm not condemning one or the other in this case, because the meta part of EVE Online is some of the more interesting stuff that happens, when you fight wars, and it goes to this meta level. Not just in the game, but it goes beyond the game, and what you leverage into it, and all the real life advantages you bring to bear against an enemy because you're trying to break their will, which is a real life characteristic. It's not an in-game rolled characteristic you're trying to break. So that's what that's all about. But it is different, and I do understand that people will do anything because that's the spirit of EVE and whatever you have to do to win. But I also feel like it does damage, clearly, right? Look at the incredible security apparatuses that are built as kind of calluses to constantly having trust violated and abused by systems that don't really punish you for doing it. In other words, I can infiltrate my enemy, become a spy, and given a certain amount of responsibility, unplug all their stuff at the wrong moment. And sure, that's sexy, but at the same time, now my enemy is going to develop this security apparatus to try to keep that from happening. And in the process, a lot of people are locked out of gameplay, right? Because if you join a corporation and you want to build something, you don't have access to their facilities because they don't trust you. They don't know you. You're just a new guy. And it takes a long time to be able to fully participate. So we damage ourselves by playing that game style. Make no mistake about it.
There's the flip side of that. And I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. Like I get the whole thing, but the currency of trust in the sandbox is kind of the only currency that there is in the end. I think I'm known for saying that lightning could strike the servers tomorrow and zap all of my accounts specifically, and I'd lose all of my characters and all of my assets. And I would wake up tomorrow and I would play EVE Online and I would be just fine because of two things. I know things and I know people. And that second thing there, knowing people, that's your reputation.
That's your real currency, right?
Yeah, that's the only currency that matters in this game. So when someone damages their own trust in the sandbox, and that identity is burned, and that has real value and real impact in the end, and that's kind of the only impact that I care about.
The problem is that that's an old player's advantage. That's not a new player advantage at all. In fact, it's a new player disadvantage, right? New group gets together.
Well, so the corollary to this is like, you say a new guy shows up and wants to build something, and they're slowed down, they're prevented, they're gate kept effectively by trust, because there is this there is this PTSD community. Everybody's been abused, everybody's traumatized, every organization's been burned, and everybody has all their walls all the way up. But like, is that, and you have to work your way in, but like, so be it, where it's a tight community, and like one should have to work their way in. Like this is the metagame that is built up over many, many, many years, and that people like and enjoy. Like having to work your way into a community and gain that trust, and then choosing to then uphold that trust or violate that trust, like that's rewarding gameplay, and it needs the slow burn or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Big
structure permissions and ACLs and stuff are very still kind of complicated, and some things allow access to more than you probably should have access to, just to utilize some of the structure.
Yeah, they're fixed. They're fixed. They made a long time ago in like 2012. They said we're going to work on corporate permissions in order to fix some of these sharing issues, right? Because they want us to play together, but they don't give us any of the tools to lock in trust. Like, we have to just trust each other, but we don't have any way of knowing if the guy that I play with in the other side of the country is who he says he is.
It's purely organic. It's
no, but it's synthetic. This is a synthetic game. If I'm dealing with somebody in real life, I can see their eyes, I can see their expressions, I can deal with them, and then I can find them later to pile drive them into the ground if they stole something from me. Like, there is something I can do that I can't do here.
Right. There's less information. You get a lower fidelity communication. It's not face to face always, although in many cases it is. Like, we're looking at your faces right now. Some people do engage. Well, yeah, but some people do engage at that level. So this identity that you've chosen to expose to the public, that includes your face, is important. And you could have a different identity that you can burn or keep, but like that's the power, that's the strength. And
the more leverage I give you to be able to trust me is the more I expose myself to actual danger, because now I can develop stalkers. People can track me down and dox me. I might find a dead animal on my lawn. Like, I'm exposing that risk to real life situations just so that I can get you to trust me in a game where I want to play with you. Like, that to me seems like not a great formula, but CCP's been around or EVE Online's been around for 17 years, so they must be doing something right. We'll pick this topic up again later because we always come back to it. Let's move on to the last thing before we go, and that is this Titan that was killed. Gregorian, what happened here?
Well, as far as I can tell, Horde Vanguard, someone from Horde Vanguard found a Titan AFK tethered on a Raitaru, so got together with the rest of Vanguard to sino in a few hicks to tackle it, bumping leaf to knock it off tether, and some dreadnoughts.
Yikes. So he actually got bumped.
So you say he got bumped by dreadnoughts?
Yeah.
No, bumped by if you see the fax on a kill mail, that's
So he was bumped by
that-
fax.
yeah. The fax is the usual capital ship for bumping stuff off tether.
Now, did they lock the Sino close to the Titan that was on tether and tried to bump when the fax landed on grid, or just ram into the Titan itself? To bump it off tether?
I wasn't around to see it happen, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
But the point is, this guy, he may not have done anything wrong. He just left his ship tethered and walked away. Maybe he even had the game minimized and forgot that he had done that. Walked away, did his day in real life, came back, and in that time, somebody took him out of safety, because when you tethered, you're safe. But if you get bumped off it, eventually the tether breaks and then you're up for grabs. And that looks like that's what happened here.
I've had some industrial freighters killed that way, where I would just AFK doing some PI or something, and then tab over and tab back to that system. Like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah,
so,
this is where the force fields of player-owned star bases were better, right? Because you couldn't get
Right.
bumped out of there.
Yeah, when I was super ratting and the player-owned pauses were still there, that's where I would warp to. That's like my safe. I would, instead of going to the Citadel, I would definitely warp to there. That way, if you're in a super, you could align to there, warp to the pause bubble, and you're inside of it, and then you can just recall your fighters, right? And you're still safe. If you warp to the like Fortizar or something in the system, you'd have to wait till your fighters got back to tether up, because you can't tether with your fighters out, or lose your fighters, and that could be hundreds of millions of ISK, right? So the pauses were safer as far as a mechanism for these larger ships than the Citadels are, for sure.
there you
in
go.
tether.
So Hunting Fighter says the guy actually logged off during the fight.
Okay, so normally
That's
when you
interesting.
want to do that, you want to leave fleet, and then you want to wait till your safe log timer runs down and safe log. You don't want to just log out, because you'll just stay in space until downtime, unless you DC or something.
A little more information here. He says that he was tethered on a red tether.
Yeah, red means that it's close to far enough to break, so
Snapping,
that's why.
Well, let's explain that. If you're tethered, it's a blue light that will attach you to the structure. But as you get further away from the structure, your tether will begin to stretch a little bit visually, and it'll become orange or red, and then it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter until it disappears. So that just means you're almost out of range of the tether. I guess that's what the red tether is.
Yeah. So either way, this was a pilot mistake at the end of the day. You should never leave your Titan tethered to a structure unattended.
Okay.
This is what happens.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to end with a little story, then we'll take off. But this is a true story. I was in Syndicate as NC Dot was fighting. I was in NC Dot, was fighting the Initiative. We were taking over moons, and at that time, NC Dot could kind of clobber Initiative pretty well. So we had taken all their moons, and we were leaving, but I was late in leaving. I was out like this. I missed the move ops, and I came the next day. And I asked a friend, I won't say who it was, can you light me a Sino in this first system on the way out? This is a heavily camped system. And he goes, sure, no problem. Well, he lights a Sino on an Astra House at the very top. And that's not where you light a Sino. But I jumped without looking. And as soon as I got there, because the Astra House has a little tower in the middle. And so when I jumped to that Sino, I hit the tower and bumped off and started drifting out. And in my panic, I hit approach Citadel, because I thought that would bring me back into Citadel as I'm flying out. But if you approach a Citadel, you approach the edge of a Citadel, not the center of it. So it took me a second to realize like I wasn't slowing down and I wasn't reversing the situation. So then I approached the actual Sino, And that did bring me towards the center, but not before I drifted almost all the way out. And that's when I actually watched the tether go from normal to red to orange to very, very faded orange to almost snap. And right on top of the Citadel was initiative guys waiting, looking at, well, they were scouts. They weren't the actual dread bomb, but waiting to see if I was going to snap. And so that was one of those, what do they call it? It was one of those moments, right? Where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happened. So that was a funny little story. And that's when I realized what happens to the tether if you drift off. So sorry about that for that guy, Trialis Trey from TNT. We like TNT. But he got zapped, unfortunately for him. That's what I was going to say, Nick, but I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, the other thing interesting about this kill mail is that, well, most Titans wear high-grade slave pods. This person had the implants, but they were in the cargo hold.
Oh, lots of people make that mistake. I think Pro God Legend made that mistake too, didn't he? He had something.
Yeah, he's kind of famous for frequently doing that.
So I see the irony. Okay. Onsway, thank you for visiting. Gregorian and Mannix, thanks guys for hanging out with us. And thank you all for watching today. We will be back again tomorrow. Right now, we'll go and raid someone for you. And thanks for watching Talking in Stations.